Hi everyone, I'm going to be talking about the confessions today, and that has to do with false confessions of 4 Navy sailors on a rape murder case. Now, the rape murder case happened in North Virginia, where most of the Navy men resided in, and one day a Navy man went home to his newlywed wife to find that she was dead. Her name is Michelle Bosco. She's the one who was raped and murdered. So he went and knocked on his neighbor's door, Daniel, and Daniel then called the cops after he was told that the guy's wife was dead. When the cops got there, they did their thing, and then one of the lead detectives, Maureen, asked one of Michelle's friends who she thought had done this, and Michelle's friend said that it was definitely Daniel, and they asked Daniel to go and to do some questions, ask him some questions for it. Daniel went in. He's innocent. He didn't think that he would need a lawyer, and he was going to answer their questions and tell them what happened. And they started off with asking him why did he call the cops, to going into, you did this, tell the truth, we want to know what happened. Maureen had interrogated him for 8 hours and then handed him over to Detective Ford, who is known for being intimidating and very fearful and getting confessions out of people. And for the next 3 hours, he was interrogated by Detective Ford. Detective Ford finally got a confession out of Daniel that was false, and it proved that the facts that Daniel said about his crime that he committed were not lining up with the facts of the actual crime. And they tested his DNA to the semen that was found at the crime scene, and it did not match either. With that being said, they still wanted Daniel to change his confession to say that it was him and that it matched up with what was in the crime scene. This also led to another confession from Joe Dick, who his confession had standed out because he believed that he did it after a while, but from dealing with the interrogation and sitting in jail and having it constantly told to him that he needed to stop lying, he did this crime. The death penalty was possible for Joe, and he was threatened with the death penalty by Detective Ford, saying that if he didn't tell the truth, he was going to die. So his lawyer told Joe, and then also told his parents, that if he did not tell the truth, that the death penalty was possible for him. So what happened then was Joe made everything up, and he made 7 statements that were just not true at all. And within those 7 statements, Joe mentioned a name Eric, who's also a naval sailor, and then Eric got arrested for the crime as well and had to go through the interrogations and the DNA testing. And when Eric's DNA came back negative, they asked Joe for more names, and Joe did not know those names. So that being said, Joe had to name another 3 people who he didn't know, and he only knew one name, and that was a guy named Derek. And Derek was told that he failed the polygraph test, just like Daniel was in the interrogations that they were doing with these men. And after 11 hours, Derek signed a confession saying that he did it. All these confessions were falsely done. They were coerced, and all the guys were threatened with the death penalty, saying that if they didn't tell the truth, if they didn't stop saying that they didn't do it, that they were going to be put to death. So then they had rehearsals done and on the statements that they were going to give, and each rehearsal they would keep adding things into it until they had what the cops viewed as how the crime scene happened. So after those rehearsals were done and they got it down pat, that's when they started recording the statements. This meant that nothing was recorded that led up to the confession, and that's a huge problem because you just don't know what happened in between. Another 3 guys were named during these statements who were soon to be released because Derek recanted his confession. So those 3 people that were named were gone off the slate, off the hook. And during that time, a guy named Omar Ballard had sent a note out to a girl threatening her, and in the note at the very end he said that he was the one who committed the murder of Michelle. And that note was then sent to the police, and they had taken Omar in, who was already in jail, for questioning, and his DNA did match the case, everything. And he even told the cops, he was like, yeah, I committed this murder and I did it by myself. But since that wasn't lining up with the facts, it created a problem for the cops. They made a big mistake with saying that these 4 guys did it. So they did a plea bargain with with Omar, saying that if you say that you did this crime with the 4 other guys, the 4 original guys, we will give you a shorter sentence. So that is what happened in the end, and the 4 other guys did go through trial separately and were all convicted of that, and now live lives where they are registered sex offenders for a rape that they never committed. So with that being said, the problems with this case is that the way that the detective went about interrogating these people, he was very intimidating and just would not let up, constantly saying that you did this crime, even when they said that they didn't. And that's a huge problem within our system. We don't want to keep telling people that they did it, because once you have that in your head and you keep saying it over and over again that you did this crime, the person might start to believe that they did it, just like Joe Dick did. Other than that, I think the implications that this case can have on our criminal justice system is that we have to go by the DNA testing. All the DNA did not match the 4 Navy men and even the 3 other Navy men that were released afterwards before the trials happened. And the DNA did match this Omar Ballard guy who actually committed the rape. And I think that the cops and the police systems also have to think about how they have to have their theories of the crime match up with what actually happened and not keep shifting it to make them seem right and convict innocent people. They have to worry about getting the right person instead of a person.